Hey guys, I know it's been a few weeks since I uploaded, but there's a good reason for that. As you can see from this video, I went to Rome and visited some of the greatest historical sites. And so I can give you guys a tour of what I've seen, what my experience was, and how I liked it. So first you go to like this big security clearance. You got to go through like, it's like TSA, airport security, and you get into Colosseum, and you can see in the Colosseum there's gonna be a bunch of these holes on the walls, which is basically where the structure was supported by. And this hole used to be marble and look different. After climbing all of these stairs, like 1,000 of them, it was very hard. You can see people in front of you struggling. You get to the top, and you can see a structure that parts of it are in ruins, which is to be expected. And to imagine that all of this used to be made out of marble and was stripped down is just incredible. You know how much was invested into it. It was stripped down, and parts of it were taken to Vatican to make things out of it, and then parts of the Colosseum, like where the metal parts were actually grinded down and used as weapons in medieval times. So this place has been through a lot. Like other than history and decay, a lot of different rulers were um, kind of frowning down upon this place because it was a place of that later on Christianity was considered as barbaric, as a place where people died, where people were executed, and it was during the pagan times. And you can see like history. A lot of times people want to revise the history and like forget their past, but this place is just luckily these parts of it preserved. And you see this is where the basement was, where they kept the animals, where they kept the infirmaries, where they kept the gladiators, or prison cells were, and they were locked in. And over there, as you can see right across, is where the emperor sat. And you can see over there a huge cross placed there, I guess, as a sign of win of Christianity. But this is when she talked. Our tour guide talked about the animals in the Colosseum, and it is well known they had animals like lions, and this is exact spot where the emperor said had animals like lions and um, not elephants and rhinos brought in, and these were like actually used in the events. So that seems to be the truth that can be supported. And in terms of the naval battles, there is only one like source that talks about that, and then they're not quite sure if the naval battles happen here, but they had a separate Colosseum that was just designed for naval battles. So it's not confirmed that the naval battles happened here, but also, what we talked about is how a lot of times these gladiators were not executed because they were like a very expensive investment. So it would be just slaves who were executed mostly. This is a view of the Palatine Hill from the Colosseum, and this is all next to each other. You got Palatine Hill, and then you got Colosseum Maximus to the right. So all of these historical places are right next to each other. They're in close proximity to each other. It seemed like this is a picture of how it looked before, how the temple right here looked before, and now we just have a couple of columns. But getting onto the lower levels of Colosseum here, this is kind of where the senators and the people of higher class sat, because the poor people have to climb all the way up to the higher stands. But this is where the senators, just VIP entrance for them, and of course for the emperor, who had his VIP lodge over there. But think of how many this could take almost 100,000 people in here, and how it was back in the day. But this is a another this is an arc of Constantine, one of the greatest Roman emperors. This is right outside Colosseum. This is a Titus arc, and now entering Palatine Hill. And Titus built this actually when he defeated the Jews and conquered Jerusalem. I was the only person there to know the answer to this. In what battle this depicts. And everybody else was just looking at me like, look at this nerd. But I love my history, and this is why I even started this channel. Um, and then going up the Palatine Hill, this is the road that Julius Caesar built, and we walked on this road that is, older than Christianity. Like very old road that leads up to the Palatine Hill. And it's just like, it was so immersive to be part of that. And then this is the Palatine Hill, which is a hill where, according to the legend, Romulus and Remus started Rome, and they were, raised by a wolf, Romulus, and killed Remus. And, that's why the city is named Rome. It's one of the 7 Roman hills. And, this is where all the emperors lived. Um, you can see remains of their palaces here. In the next clip coming up, you're going to see parts of the marble on which was palace built with. And just thinking like why they built their palace here. They built their palace here because the nice fresh air would come here from the sea. So you can see the influence of hedonism even in these parts. Like they built this so they can have the prime location and enjoy, as they should, as an emperor of one of the biggest empires in the history of the world. And you can see the parts of marble over here, the parts of the palace. This is exactly where the palace was, where the emperor lived. You can see marble on the ground here, which is just spectacular. And to think that all of this was built out of marble. Walking further in the Palatine Hill, we saw the gardens from 15th century that were built by the rich Borghese families, and these are just absolutely stunning. You can see the fountains right here. Like, I mean, they had like nice little koi fish in here, or goldfish. I'm not sure which kind, or mixed, but this was like absolutely gorgeous palace. Um, that was a joy to watch. And then going further down down the Palatine Hill, you see a lot of these old temples dedicated to different Roman gods. And now inside of them, you see like a church built, later on, which is like they did a lot of this in Rome, like a triumph of, you see temple and then a church inside, a triumph of Christianity over paganism. Um, that early Christians did as soon as the Rome became Christianized, and their whole they banned the games, of course. And then over there you can see remnants of the Senate, where the senators used to meet, and biggest decisions in the empire were made. Going on top of the Palatine Hill, you see the whole city, and just imagine looking at this from your palace as an emperor. Like you see the whole city. You see the Colosseum over there, and then Victor Emmanuel statue over there, and then yeah, that was like the tour of the Palatine Hill, which was absolutely beautiful. Now we have Pantheon, of course, which is one of the marvels of architecture. Inside of it also was a church, and you can see the dome that was one of the wonders of the world at its time. That amazing architecture was was built, like, and people wondering how they did it for so long. And but that's amazing what they did in their time. And then Fontana di Trevi, which was absolute hellhole because of all the tourists. My hotel was right next to it, and then I hated it, but beautiful fountain. But the tourists are just insufferable over here. But yeah, that was my tour of the Rome, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe to History in 5 Minutes. And if you want to support the channel, please buy me a coffee in the link attached in the description. Thank you very much.